let's get things started with qualifying. The main thing I want to touch on here is probably one of the main incidences of the Saturday, which is Bottas suddenly being caught out spinning in the pit lane in FP2. I can't remember the last time I saw something like this happen. This was very, very unusual. Now, the explanation that came from Mercedes was that they were trying something new with their pit stops. You can see on the onboard that he comes out in second gear and maybe just a bit too much power. But something went horribly wrong there because it seems like somebody spinning in the pit lane is extremely rare. Now, what did you make of this incident, Shane? And did you consider his following 2 penalty points and 3-place grid penalty to be the right call?
Well, it's funny you say that you can't remember the last time something like this happened in the pit lane. And it's because there's so many rules and regulations in the pit lane to keep the various amounts of people in the pit lane safe that it's very hard to do anything wrong. I mean, sometimes we get an unsafe release, but that's as far as things can go wrong in the pit lane, as far as we're concerned. In the modern era of Formula One, there's no refueling because it was deemed too dangerous. There's speed limits. There's limited amount of crew. The photographers are out the way, and even the cameramen, or women are completely out the way and without, not in harm's way. So for something like this to happen is really rare, and I was so shocked, and it had to be Bottas, the guy who needs a strong weekend and a strong comeback to fix his, arguably a very poor start to the season. I mean, he's back down in 5th place at the beginning of this race. It was a very interesting spin, and it did look pretty dangerous. And I heard the radio between the FIA and the McLaren pit wall. I'm not quite sure who was on the radio, but he made a very good point that there are people working in the pit lane, and you can't have a car traveling down a pit lane, sliding about at 50 miles an hour, narrowly missing pit crew. Actually, we were very, very fortunate that no one got hit by that Mercedes. Like the way it slid, it's a busy time of the session as well. It was just very, very unusual. And to answer your question, do I think he deserved the grid place and the penalty points? 110%. 110%. And I'll explain to you why. This is a free practice session, and yes, they were trying something new in the pit lane, but again, it's a free practice session. So do you have to commit 110% to launch yourself out the pit box? Yes, I know you want to practice what's going to happen during the race or maybe during qualifying, a quick turnaround, but also you're going to have a lot more, there's more times to practice as well. You don't have to commit 110% straight away. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you get into these situations. You did put people's lives at risk. You did endanger the people in the pit lane. So thus far, you have to deal with the consequences, whether it was on purpose or whether it was a complete accident. So a 3-place grid penalty for the driver and 2 penalty points, absolutely within reason. And I'm glad you've brought this up. What's your view on the whole spin edit?
Yeah, I can't help but agree. Really, it is the right call to penalise him in that way. There isn't really any excuse for it. I don't quite understand how he spun coming out in second gear. You'd think in second gear they'd have
less
more
wheel spin.
So I don't understand how it happened. But yeah, the hows and whys are less important than the safety aspect of it. I remember Grosjean span at the end of the pit lane, didn't he? There was a bit not at the very end where they're actually coming out onto the track, but the usually barriered off exit after the last pit box.
Okay, yeah.
I think he span there a little while ago and wrecked his front wing or something. But to do it out of the pit box is very, very unusual. Maybe he got onto a painted line or something. Nonetheless, yes, I agree. Definitely the right call in terms of punishment.